but I think that's been kind of more limited to minimal.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Well, that's interesting. I never really thought of using history as like as a starting point. It's always been like, what is it, the weekly movie or show or something like that. What about you, Star?
I'm just gonna say, like, yeah, that would also, like, using real life events kind of like gives you the result of what happens as, so like as a DEM, you can actually know what the results are gonna be. So, but for me, I've been a storyteller for a very long time, even before growing up. Like as a kid, like me and my brother, we probably, like, we didn't know back then, but we were LARPing, right? Like I'd be creating the imaginative area that we're in. Like I'm telling them what's going on around us, and then we'll be play stick fighting against everything. And then I grew into a writer enthusiast. Started to create projects such as Homeland Roleplay, which was in Yahoo Chat back way in the day. But we're talking about D&D, so I was introduced fully into D&D from my girlfriend at the time. Her father was a big veteran. Like he played first edition, second edition, and he brought me into like the second edition around 97, and that was a wellspring for me. And I think that's where I'm going to end, because I know your other questions kind of like lead into what else I could talk about there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it really is a perfect segue to how long have you been doing this for? What is the I mean, would you say that if you were going to homebrew, you would have to be doing D&D for a certain amount of time before taking on such a large task?
Well, you wouldn't even need to just be D&D. Like it could be anything. Like, but D&D is good for the base rule sets to kind of like create the characters. The ideal that it's just writing up a story, like have an imagination. Like that's really all you need to get started. Like you just need to be able to imagine what's there and be able to explain that to your players.
Right.
Yeah, you guys, you
Didn't be
guys,
good.
you guys don't know it. You guys are walking in my subconscious, and I'm just telling you what's going on.
Step over.
Go ahead, I'm done.
Okay.
What about you, Deadmeat? How long have you been home brewing for?
Homebrewing, actually, arguably, I've been doing it longer than my D&D days. I kind of same story as Star. I kind of started off like creating worlds and such in my earlier days, although I didn't have quite nearly as many people to do that with. So, but eventually, kind of around high school, actually, no, further past. Sorry, let me get my. So, effectively, the official start I'll say is with the Call of Cthulhu game I initially did on my Fridays. So I had a group there that was extremely unpredictable, and I had to basically be able to think on my feet a lot.
Right.
Which led to a lot of homebrewing. I would adjust stats. I would do a lot of things that the book encouraged, but also didn't quite plan for.
Right.
Fast forward to doing D&D, and I pretty much did homebrew right out the gate. Like I didn't use any official settings. I didn't like the only thing official I used was the monsters, classes, and other stuff like that.
Hmm.
I think I'll stop there for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I can ask, then where was, like, if you've been going through and messing with it, what was the first encounter with homebrew that you guys had? Did you start, I guess maybe the real question is, did you all start off in your journey through this as more of a DM, or would you say a player? Because I know, Star, you said you were LARPing maybe in your own way with your family,
Mm-hmm.
and going through. Would you say you took over that DM role just instinctively?
Possibly. Like, don't get me wrong, I think everybody comes into this as a player first, because you don't know how to DM off the bat, especially if you're going to be messing with veteran players and like, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. I'm going to get away with everything. No. I think most people come in as a player first, but yeah, it didn't take long for me to gravitate to the DM role because I was like, I can actually tell my story with actual stats. Let's do that. So
Right.
yeah. Um, are we talking about like the first encounters with homebrew? Did you ask that yet, or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What was your first encounter with it?
See, I don't think I had anything that was like, I'm not even sure, but I think maybe her father also had a homebrewed world. But yeah, I mean, just basically the rule sets are there, and then if that's just the case, anybody can come up with a homebrew world. That's easy.
Right.
Just yeah, but me, I like to be original. I don't like to be streamlined, so I definitely had my own vision. Like I was writing a story right as I was getting out of high school, and that is what El Sperry is right now. So
Ah, there we go. That makes sense. So you were out of high school, you took on, was it more of like a writing project, not really a world of
yeah,
D&D to play in?
like I had my characters made up. I think Yahoo Chat roleplays helped inspire some new characters and new storylines, and I meshed them together. Like I've created Sparrow and Denio before that, but I think no, actually I roleplayed them in Yahoo Chat. No, there was a lot of Yahoo Chat references that helped me create these characters. Now I think about it, yeah. So it's kind of like I test play these guys' characters, like how they act and how they react to other people. That was a useful tool for like getting the writer enthusiast itch scratch back then. Um, let's see. But yeah, like characters like Tierra, Spencer, Denio, Sparrow, these characters you rarely see in the game because they're like legendary characters in my mind. So I don't bring them out that often because technically you guys are the star, but these were my stars when I was writing my story. So they
Right.
exist, so I
Right.
have a world. But
But what about for you, Deadmeat? Let me extend the same question to you. Did you start off as a player, a DM, and what was your first encounter with homebrew?
So, kind of like the same thing Star said. I think everybody, except for a few notable exceptions, start off with as a player. I definitely did with Call of, Cth- yeah, Call of Cthulhu.
yeah, that one.
Back in 2018, just after I got out of high school. Um,
Oh my god, you are all young and
no, 23. No, I'll be 23 later this month. Er, anyways, that's not important. But my first actual encounter with homebrew was actually from a one-shot game I did with a couple of friends back during high school. I'm not going to go over the premise of that because we all give the DM of that crap over the premise. It was we were 16 at the time. That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah,
Right. Right.
I'm sure those were fun
It
because
was nothing in SFW. I will say right now, but it was wonky.
well, when we get those kind of people in the Friday games, I could totally relate.
um, but anyways, cut forward to eventually doing Call of Cthulhu. I eventually decided I kind of want to take a stab at this myself. Found the starter scenario, which is called The Haunting. It's also my testing now for new players if I ever need to bring in new players.
Hmm.
Fairly simple. Ran it with a few people. I did some minor homebrewing for that just because of how lackluster it can be.
Right.
And then eventually move on to D&D because I decided, you know what, I need to take a break from Cthulhu. And also, I kind of have been telling my IRL group that I've been doing D&D instead of Cthulhu, so now I need to build a world for that. And that's where my first idea for my current D&D world has started.
Nice.
I gotcha. So maybe that brings me to this question here, which I think is kind of the big question, is why go homebrew instead of pre-purchase modules? What are your benefits and where do you feel those modules fall short if
Well,
they do?
you skipping around here, aren't we?
Oh, I'm
All
bouncing
right.
around.
All right.
Right.
I,
Segue though.
I can definitely start this one off because I had difficulty with Curse of Strahd. I love the theory of, or I love the theme, I mean, of Curse of Strahd, you know, Vampire Lord controlling this area and all that stuff. But as a DM, as you look at the mechanics of the area, you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do with all this? When I got this, it's only on roll 20, so I didn't have the hard copies or anything like that. So I tried to digest it as best I can, and most of the time I was doing it in the moment, and it made it very difficult to want to do module content. Because right there, you can, like, I want to stay true to the work because Curse of Strahd's kind of like well known, right? It is one of the more relatable, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here, but it's one of the more defined modules that people know about, like Ravenloft or Curse of Strahd. So I wanted to be true to the theme. I want to make sure that I was being true at the very first. I think it took me like 3 different playthroughs though, and to actually figure it out. And on the modules, you just gotta do what you do anyway. You pretty much have to homebrew the stuff that doesn't make sense, or the stuff that the module doesn't tell you, because it's like you figure it out. Like, it basically has like that, we're not purposely telling you this because you can do whatever you want. So the modules, they only help in a certain way. I even had the same problem with Witchlight, but I also bought the hard copy for that one too whenever we were doing it. So I felt more prepared on Witchlight, but due to my experience with Curse of Strahd, I already knew that I need to just start creating stuff that I wanted to happen, because the book's not going to give me everything I need. So the modules are ideals that you start with, and then you just have to do what you need to make the game work. So that's my experience with modules. And to be honest, if I had to pick, I wouldn't do a module. I'd rather do my homebrew world, because there I could just think about it, and I think about the relation of the world and the stuff that I'm aware of as a writer, what I put in there, because I wrote the material, or I wrote the concept, so I know what's in this world and how it should react to my players. So at that point, it's like, okay, I could just pull from my brain instead of like, okay, where's it at in these notes? I know it's in here somewhere. I saw it the other day. Where is it? You know, trying to get that exact thing, because you don't want to tell your players one thing and then later on you're like, oh shoot, I found it. Actually, it's this. And then it's like you have to retcon something. No, if I'm making it up in my head, it becomes canon as soon as it leaves my mouth. We all write it down, and that's that. So I have an easier time with, and I feel like homebrew is just the wrong word here. I have a better time with the story realm that I've created, instead of like it being a homebrew. Like, the homebrew are the solutions inside the game, but the realm itself is, you know, I feel like it's not a homebrew. It's just a story realm that I've created. Anyway, that's my answer to the prepaid modules. It's like, they're good for starting, but you got to dig deep to get what you need out of it. And half the time, when you finally find the answer, you realize, I should have just made this up. I should have just figured it out for myself. I should have just threw the book in the trash and move on. But yeah, that's my answer there.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really great point. I think that's when I realized I wanted to start trying to homebrew as a new DM. And I'll just put this out there. I've only been on D&D for like 2 years. So my idea for all of this is... Yeah, exactly. Is the 2 years that I've been with the ChaoticCalling is trying to understand the game as a whole before bracing out and taking on the DM role. But when I was a DM for certain modules of, like, what were the Essentials kit? What is that? Dragons of Icespire Peak. There's a lot that leaves to be desired. And you end up naturally taking over that homebrew situation. You take over that homebrew task as you try to piece things together. And then there's, like you said, there's that point where you're just like, I should have just thrown this whole book away. I'm doing all the hard work anyways.
Yeah, it's just, you're not getting what you need out of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I realized. Yeah, maybe that's when I need to start doing it. What about you, Deadmeat?
The answer I would have given at the time was money.
Money.
The answer I'm going to give now
Yeah, that's a good one
For
too.
prepaid modules, because I do actually, I have ran a few of them. Yeah, I have ran a few in the past. Also, I apologize about all the stuttering. That's just my brain.
It's all right.
No amount of preparing will do that.
Yeah.
Or fix that. Anyways, um, prepaid modules. I've ran a couple in the past. Out of the Abyss, Curse of Strahd. I have a sneeze.
Bless you.
Sorry.
You're all right.
I think at one point I even ran Lost Mines, although that was a very much a temporary thing. Or no, I didn't run it as a part of a game for it. I couldn't quite remember. That one was very temporary.
It is an option now for a lot of people. They gave that away for free recently.
Yep. But anyways, and I'm gonna go back to Curse of Strahd for a lot of this. I feel like my thing with prepaid modules is like some of them, yes, are good and can, provide a lot of good content, but in the end, there's just some things you need to homebrew for. One example being your player's unpredictability.
Right.
Another thing being, and I'm going to bring this up here, a bit of controversial content. I'm not going to name it, but I think we can all agree that Strahd may have a little bit too much.
Yeah, they. I'll say it for you because they're. I hate to say it, but kids are not safe. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's other things, but yeah. But he's a vampire. He's cool.
Oh, that's not what I was getting at all, but okay.
No.
Well, I'm going to move away from that now. And it's kind of the same situation with Out of the Abyss, where it gets a little dark, but then again, also like the first half is dark for different reasons than the second half, which is I'm not going to get into that 'cause spoilers, but anyways. So ultimately, why I would prefer doing homebrew over modules is just simply put, I can tailor the story without having to actually read through the story for my players. I know what they do, what they are up for, what they are not up for. Also, I can plan the challenges accordingly, and I don't get one shot by a vampire.
Man, he's willing to talk at the beginning.
Yeah, the context, of Strahd. I'm sure you from your game that you ran in the past. Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's very interesting. So I guess I don't want to say. I kind of want to follow up more than lead on to the actual world building part of homebrewing and kind of where that takes us is a module. I've heard often that they're too railroady, which I think is maybe something that people can feel like there's just not enough choice that happens. So modules have led into more of this sandboxy openness that they've tried to do with these last couple of books. What do you guys feel about sandbox worlds? And is it better to, I don't want to say keep something railroady, but is it better to allow just pure whatever happens and you still try to plan for whatever because you're not following a certain storyline the same way you would a written module? Or is it better to just try to keep certain motifs and themes recurring? Does that make sense?
No.
Yes. Got a one and a no.
So basically, what are you asking here?
Yeah,
I was following you, and then
just,
well, then I fell off the tracks because your railroad.
Yeah. I kind of. I tend to go through.
Sometimes I'll say it that you have to railroad your players because some of them want to play too safe. not naming any names like I should. I'm not going to name any names. But the course of being here is to make stuff happen. And if your character's too scared to confront whatever's coming up, well, one, you're delaying the story. Two, you're not progressing your character. Three, you're not leveling if you don't do anything. So that's when a DM has to pull out the choo-choo train and start putting people on board. It's like, we gotta go. And sure, I don't think it's a problem unless you take away their free will. Like,
Yes.
you can railroad them to an extent, but if they want to get off the tracks, allow them. And just let them know that this is what I intended, but I'm here for you, so let's do what you guys got. You know, that's kind of like how I play it. Like, I don't want to
Right.
railroad people, but it is a necessity sometimes, and it doesn't always have to come off as a railroad, to be honest. Like, if you pull it off right, you could trick people into being railroaded. So all you gotta do is have that one NPC they either really love or really hate, and then make them do the things to get the party going, you know? I think I did
gotcha.
that. I think I did that Friday, didn't I? You guys wanted to hate that NPC, and then you found out otherwise, and for some reason
Mhm.
he was gonna die, and you guys saved him. That was interesting. So yeah,
That was a very interesting
yeah, like
switch.
yeah. So like that's just like yeah, just railroading. It's not always like it's not the answer, but
Right.
it is a tool. So use it as you need it, but don't force it on them all the time. You don't need to do that. Just let them have free will. Like if they want to get off the tracks, then just say, all right, this is what I planned, but I am more open to react to whatever you guys got going on. Let's do it. So as long as you,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's me being a reactionary DM. If you're one of those DMs that are locked on, but I did all this prep work and I have all this stuff lined up because you told me last week you were thinking about doing this, and now you change your mind. Players do that, so that's why I like the
Right.
reactive role of DMing than sit down for 8 hours and plan everything just to find out that 8 hours got wasted because they decided to skip that part, or the NPC that was necessary died of stupidity because they flung him out the ship or something. I don't know, something weird. Like, goodbye. It's like, well, there
Right.
goes that plan. I mean, you've seen times when Matt Mercer had to pull up 2 sheets of paper and just rip them up in front of the players and just, all right, we're doing this. Let's do that then. So yeah, railroading or sandboxing now is kind of like a different concept, right? So that's like the opposite of
Mhm.
railroading. So yeah, just mix it up.
Right.
Let them fluidly go through the world as they want to explore. Offer them locations where the quest or whatever is, and just kind of like go from there and try to let them do it on their own. And if they can't figure it out, throw some NPCs to put them on the track and say, let's go. That's kind of like how I approach it anyway.
Yeah. Makes sense. What about you, Deadmeat?
Make sure I'm off mute. Yep.
Yeah.
So railroading in sandbox, railroading, like I will admit, I've had to do it a few times. Particularly Cthulhu, but I'm gonna focus on D&D more because Cthulhu's a whole different thing. I could do an entire podcast
mean-
just on Cthulhu. So,
I mean, it is a role-playing game, so it kind of relates.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more of a darker.
it does,
side.
but that's also the thing. Like it's mostly scenarios that are meant to be kind of railroady, but in D&D on modules, I feel like sometimes yes, I can get a little bit too railroady, but also like at the same time, like especially with like things like Out of the Abyss, like there are certain sections like player freedom is very much like it's there. Like I'll use, I'm not going to use that. I'm actually not going to use that example because I feel like that might be a bit too much of a spoiler. But anyways, like there's one chapter in it where they arrive to a city. They can completely bypass it and continue on to the next city because it's full of gray dwarves or now I'm blanking on the name. Drugar. That's what they're called.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, which if you follow Forgotten Realms lore is they're a race that got freed from mind flayers, and now they're a slaver race, basically.
Right. Right.
So there's always the option like you can bypass it, but there might be some things you might want to go in and get, like say provisions, or like it helps to go in, but you can always bypass it. Whereas the alternative to that is sandbox. Sandbox can be interesting, but eventually, if you just do sandbox with no storyline at all, then it just starts to become a bit. I'm gonna use the word stale.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It eventually just goes on with no real story progression. So
Yeah.
that's if you're going by true sandbox.
That's when you throw a
I've seen.
banshee at him. That'll get rid of him.
I have seen people, and I do this too. Like I will actually, like I'll look into players' backstories. I will find, is there a character story I can add here? If there is, just
Oh.
throw it in. I
Mm.
think, if I remember correctly from my time doing games with you, Star, that's something you do too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like
Yeah, that's right. That's something I picked up from you actually.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, because like people make their backstory, and I kind of like it. You got your own story, you got your own ideas, what you want to play, and I'm here to help facilitate that. And that's why whenever I'm looking at like, I don't know, I think you had 5 NPCs for me to work with. I'm like,
5.
yeah,
No, I had
or
more.
you probably did, but in that story that I read, I'm like you had a freaking novel for me, and that's where I had to be like, all right, guys, I only got eyes that can handle so much attention here. Let's keep it short, sweet, and to the point. But yeah, I do go into backstories whenever I'm having a block day, and it's like, what can I do to bring this person's story to life? And yeah, the edgelords definitely make it easy for you. It's like, all right, I'll just send their worst enemy at him. Let's do that.
Right.
Your
Right.
your patron is mad at you. All right, I got you. You're a
That's
stray
good.
warlock. Yeah, yeah. But after all, you need
Yeah.
to pick. You need to pick on all the warlocks. You know you have to. You know who you are. You know why you did this to me.
Oh, that's great. That's really good. Actually, real thoughtful information about railroading versus sandboxing and bringing in some concepts. That's something I never really thought of, is trying to throw in that character backstory to try to spice things up and be like, by the way, we're moving forward, without being like, hey, we're moving forward.
Yeah, because once you throw something that they wrote and that they have a
Mhm.
concept of already, they want to follow that trail because what did I create? What did the DM do? What the hell's going on? Guys, we need to go and follow this trail because if we don't, I'm going to go crazy.
Right.
Because
Right.
I want to catch
Right.
so and so because they did something to my family. That's my motivation. That's why I'm here. And you guys are going to help me. Got it? Let's go. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is definitely a motivator, especially if they have a simple love story or something. It's like, they broke up with me. Well, guess what? They're back for revenge or whatever. Yeah. Nah, and that's the thing. Like, you could like subtly plot this stuff out, like little spices. Like maybe you have one of their villains following them and just ask for a random perception check. If it rolls low, they're gonna be paranoid for a while. So
Right. Right.
and then just kind of like shadow that in the back of your mind, like this person is following them, they're trying to get information, they might overhear a few things if the party's being a certain level, and then you can spring that on them like, haha, I know your plans and I'm here to stop them or whatever with that character or whatever. I don't know, there's
Right.
several ways, but yeah, pulling from backstory whenever, like, just to keep the sandbox fresh, and then put them on the railroad tracks. You know, that NPC is the railroad conductor. So there you go.
Oh, that's really good. All right. Well, so with that out of the way, let's start with actually diving into the world of homebrew. Of like, what do you need to start? when you homebrew? Do you need an elaborate story, all thought out to the very end with everything connected and the plot twists, or is that something that fills itself in with players?
You can start with just a tavern or just a home or whatever the players meet. Like, you just start, all right, so where do we want the players to start, right? Like, when we are in it, like, the usual is tavern. And if you want to be different, you could change it up. But, you know, default tavern. Just come up with a tavern, create the barkeep, and then just talk to the players, let them interact. And usually what I do, like level 1, I have like scenarios that I do to kind of like, let me think for a second here. The very first attempt of me using Roll20 with friends only, I ran my friends through a scenario where they start at the tavern, they do a simple quest, they complete the quest, and then I start introducing them to more of the town. And kind of with the players' help, you can have them help create the city for you. Like, they're going to ask for things, right? Is there a herbal shop around? Give me 5 seconds. Yes. Is there a magic shop around? Yes. You know, like, whenever they start asking for stuff, that's like, and that's like, I think I got like a list of things that I try to have in every city, because I know that's what the players are going to be looking for. Is there an inn? Is there a tavern? Is there an item shop? Is there a magic shop? Is there a potion shop? Like, all the basics. Like, I make sure those exist, and then you can flavor that as you go. And then they might ask for the random thing, like, is there a bone crafter around? What? What do you, why? I got all these bones. I want to make a scythe with it. Okay, yeah, sure. Hold on, let me think. Dragonspine has a bone craft. Like, those would be more exotic, right? So you could, like, put them in your next city, and if that's what they're looking for, guess what? You got another conductor for the railroad. But, no, I got the spine of my enemy and the skull of them, and I want to put them into a scythe formation. Isn't that right, Lexi? Anyway. Yeah.
From personal experience.
Yes. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, the players can help you create the things that you weren't thinking of, because you can't think of everything. And with more people there showing an opinion towards something, like the hot springs in Shandor, for instance, that was created through community, basically. Like, we wanted to create a layout. Like, I had it all figured out, though, because, you know, like, Shisei's people are, like, not refugees, but they just transferred over with that knowledge to create those kind of things. Like, yeah, that makes sense. We can put that there. So yeah, the hot spring is like an example of what the players help create. So you don't have to do it all alone. Just start simple. And as soon as you get through your first quest, whether you're fighting goblins or wolves, like, that's what you could do, right? You put them in a tavern, say a pack of wolves are ravaging through this area and we need you to clear them. If you can do that for us, we'll pay you. Boom, quest accepted. They go do the quest, they kill the wolves, they come back victorious. Now they got money. Well, what do we do next? Let's go buy something. I need better weapons because I like what we're doing. So now you create an armory or a smith or a shopkeeper for that instance. Yeah.
Right.
I could go on too, but I'll pause for a moment there in case Deadmeat has something he wants to add to it.
You're muted, Dead.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, because I actually bumped my my thing.
Oops. Welcome back.
That's model. So I had to get a whiteboard out real quick. So kind of just to add to that real quick, there, I guess if we're going on, like, I'll continue on the railroad / sandbox thing real quick. Kind of like thinking of a storyline. Just find a start. That's the first thing I could say. And the start setting could be a tavern, it could be something else. For example, it could be a prison ship.
Right.
Where people are divided up based on the crimes. And the necromancers get shoved into a box, or in one player's case, a wicker basket, because they're Yanti.
Uh-oh.
I just thought that'd be funny.
That is funny.
That's when I took the sandbox a little bit too seriously. And I dumped them on a desert continent.
I took it literally. You're in a sandbox now. Go have fun, guys.
Yeah.
But anyways, two trains of thoughts. One, you can do basically point A to point B. This is where you have your ideals. Figure out your start, figure out your end, and then figure out the meat in between. There's two trains of thoughts to that. One is continually escalate that storyline. Second thought is, let's take, for example, so this is what is that kind of...
Okay, I can see it. Start and end.
Yep, start and end. So let's just say, that line is the railroad option. Take that. Let's erase that. Option B is, let's go ahead and throw in some side scenarios.
You're really getting graphic here, aren't you?
I love it. I love it.
We might have to add a whiteboard graphic that we can interface with, maybe, or something.
Ooh, that would be cool, so we can all interact with it.
Basically, yeah, that actually would be a good idea. So you have your side scenarios. I just randomly named them real quick. So you go from start to side scenario 1. So you found yourself on the ship. Now you got off of it because it crashed. And now you got to a city, and now it's okay, now let's find work. So we can maybe get off the city. So that's your end goal.
Right.
Side 1 would be say, okay, mercenary. Then you can go from side 1 to side 2. And side 2 could maybe be some treasure hunting. Then you go to side 5, which is whatever you think of. I think go back to side 1 because that pulled in more money.
Right.
And then you go to your end goal, which is to get off this continent. Even though it's an alternate plane of existence. Anyways, get this down here.
No, I like that. That makes a lot of sense. So it's not so much just having this elaborate plan set up where you have to feel like you're so ready with the story. It's just about taking that initial step and noticing the trends of where your players kind of like to go.
All you need to do is start, buddy. Once you get started, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be a big city. That's what we're trying to say. It doesn't have to be the entire story right out the gate. Let it build up with your players' help. Like I said, you're looking to make the story with them, so I feel like they can help create some of the things that they're looking for and build off that. Especially if their backstory consists of that's what they do. I will say, Friday Game doesn't allow us to have that kind of leisure, but there's a reason for that. But my closed sessions, and I believe Ivanera, when we open that up again, you'll be able to create a backstory. And backstories. And that's the thing. I don't even tell my players to create their backstories right away. If they need time to think about this character. And once they know how they want to act with the current group, it's got to be a vibe check, right? You guys are going to see how you interact in a battle. See who's actually supporting the other player, who's convincing this player that this is the move you should do. Are there shot callers in this group? Is there someone who is purposely knowing they need to tank? Is how coordinated are these players? Are they just a hot mess and nothing's working? And that just kind of builds the character. And then once they get done with that, they're like, all right, my character's a joke character because all he did was just F off, or something. I feel like letting people experience their characters simplistically would be the best way to kind of let them figure out who they actually are. And then once they know who they are, you kind of get a gist of what they're looking for. And that's another thing. I try to ask people whenever I start a new game from now on, I'm like, tell me your expectations. What are you expecting out of this? Because if you want a lot of fighting, all right, I got you. You want a lot of role playing? I'll consider that. You can start getting ideals just by asking questions before you start a session or before you start a campaign. Like I said, I think all I did was start with a tavern, go kill some goblins, come back, and then from there just start building what they wanted. So yeah.
What about you, Dead? Did you have something you wanted to say?
I kind of unmuted, but I don't think I really have anything to add to that. Just kind of confirming that as I see that dog is starting to move around, so I might need to kill my videos for a second.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I think this is actually a really good time to talk about maybe that Ivanera session that you've been thinking of, Star.
Yeah, so Ivanera is kind of like a Strixhaven Hogwarts influence kind of game. And basically, we're currently picking the time. So far, it looks like we're looking at Saturday evening, so that's cool. We got a whole weekend of roleplay going on. That'd be great. This will be a second open RP, which means, you know, anybody can jump in. It's going to be a school scenario where you're training to become professional adventurers. Like, there's an agenda. Like, I feel like people who just pick up a weapon at level 1 go out and start adventuring. They're going to get stuck with all these low-level quests because they have to do it the hard way. But Ivanera is like a place where you enroll, learn the safety measures, learn everything about the classes and the jobs, and actually level up within the school so that you can actually apply the methods of what you've learned into the real world. And then, like it, you know, like in real life, you have a master's in being a fighter, so therefore you can have S-class missions right as soon as you graduate or something like that, right?
Right.
Ivanera is divided into 6 houses. And depending upon how you feel about your character, you might want to be in a specific house. They all have their own little quirks, and I go over that whenever we go into the games. We will be trying something new. By new, I'm talking about my mods will be able to roleplay as a teacher in the game if they wish. I mean, that's an option. But I feel like I would only give that to like the people I trust. And also there might be a new agenda to kind of like get more mods in the community to come up. So like we might try to get more mods, or maybe even community DMs for that matter. I might even extend that to community DMs, though we'll see. We'll see. But having more mods in the community would help me get more done with what is it? Get more done with the channel. We need to grow, so having mods to help moderate will help it grow, I would think. Oh no, Deadmeat, there you are. Okay.
Yeah, to go take care of something.
Nah, you're fine. Ivanera's looking to be starting at about 6 p.m. on Saturday. I don't have a start date just yet, but I will be setting that up soon. And yeah, it's going to be Dixper influenced as well. I got to find more methods to have people use up those Dixper cards, which has been a boon on this channel. So we appreciate all the support from that.
Right.
But yeah, guys, if you're looking to play some more D&D on the weekend and you love the Ivanera scenario, join us Saturday evening, 6 p.m. And if you want to play in the open roleplay on Friday, Friday might actually get a prelude to Ivanera because we got a scenario going on where we're going to go investigate Professor Elesophagus. You remember him, don't you, Deadmeat?
Yep. To a degree.
I figure he would be in the House of the Moon. So yeah. So we're going to go ahead and like he's the current professor before it came into the timeline that we're kind of like settled into with the actual new professor that takes his place. Or was it she? I think it's her that takes her place. Anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. And what appropriate time. Like Hogwarts Legacy is coming out. So if you love Hogwarts, or just the school theme, basically. I'm not trying to compare it to that, but yeah. Strixhaven was a foundation for it, but I did not enjoy a lot of the elements of Strixhaven. So guess what? It's kind of like the module thing all over again. I didn't like what was in the book. I took what I wanted, and I was like, you know what? That's it. That's all I need. But because of the OGL stuff that came up recently, I am going to be changing my concept from using any Strixhaven characters. I'll be editing Grayson and Greta's character sheets, just kind of like bring them over, because I did enjoy those names. Those names were good for characters, and I'm going to just bring that back over so that veterans have something to relate to. But as far as using any of the character sheets from Strixhaven, I'm just not going to do it because I don't know. They stung me a bit, so I'd rather have more homebrew content than
Right.
being stuck in these modules. But yeah, Ivanera, it's going to be a hell of a time. We're going to have a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys can join us.
Yeah, that sounds like a great time. It's definitely something that I want to try to jump into should I can, as well as anyone out there. What is it? Exclamation mark Discord, right? To get
Yeah,
into that, to
yeah.
stay on top of those things.
Yeah, if you're on Twitch right now, you could type exclamation mark Discord in Twitch chat. If you're watching this after the fact and it's on YouTube, you can go to twitch.tv/ChaoticCalling and you can type that in, or I will post a Discord link in the YouTube video itself.
Right.
So
Right. That'll be perfect.
I'll make a mental note to put that down there below so you guys can get to the Discord, and that's where you can keep up with all the news. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a fun scenario. I had my doubts about continuing it for my own reasons, but whenever it's been like a year and people are still talking about it, it made me realize that this is probably something we should bring back because it really did hit all the right nerves for people, I think. So
yeah. As a player in that campaign, I think it was a lot of fun and it was interesting concept to play out, especially character wise. As a student, it's interesting and not thinking that you're somewhat of a polished, adventurer.
yeah, you're looking like that's the thing, like becoming accomplished in Ivanera puts you in the Ivory League of adventurers, right? Like it gives you that hero status almost instantly, right? But it's kind of like, if you're going to work, you start working at Burger King, McDonald's, and then try to work your way up at whatever you're good at, right? But if you go to college, you learn some things, get some business degrees or whatever your profession's going to be, and then you start striking out and you're able to hit nerves and try to get into that line of work instead. It just gives you a more professional feel, like maybe a dignitary that can actually defend themselves, or somebody who can be a royal guard or something to that fact, something with more prestige.
Right.
Anyway, that's the ideal. It's going to be a lot of fun. You should definitely play. We will probably return to the mine art scenario as well. A little fun little scenario, I think, that had a chance, but I kind of drew away from it because there was too much lovey-dovey going on.
Yeah, that'll change.
Yeah, that'll be the one thing I'm worried about if we go back to Ivanera. There's going to be that whole love thing between players, and then there's going to be that one guy that comes in and tries to make a harem with everybody. It's unhealthy.
Yep. Yep, it is.
So that I'm going to try to stamp that down. Anyway.
Yep. That's exactly right.
But yeah, we're looking forward to it. And any questions about it, you can ask in Twitch chat right now if you guys are watching. I think we're good to take questions if you guys have any.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
This format is still young, guys. So, like, if you're catching this on the podcast and you're wondering when we're actually streaming, I should have the information when it goes live in the description. Leave a like, leave a follow, subscribe. Also go to the Twitch channel, leave a follow there, and you'll know everything whenever we go live. Let's see here. So we are live Sunday at 12 p.m. Central Time over here at chaoticalling.tv/.tv works. And you can watch the podcast live. Otherwise, we'll catch it on Twitch or YouTube later on. And maybe we'll see about uploading it to what are they? They're like not iTunes, or you know what I mean. Like, see if there's like a podcast we can just sound.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be really cool.
We'll look into some things, guys. But yeah, we're in our infancy, but we're gonna try to grow this. But yeah,
as we try to get our legs down underneath us, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else you want to ask, or
what about you, Dead? Anything you want to add or say, or throw in there last minute?
1 second. I have a dog. But I don't think I have anything. Give me just a second because I want to Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Oh,
I can talk if you want a couple
Yeah,
seconds
yeah.
while you're doing your thing. I was gonna say you can follow me. I'm at Nameless Streams. I'm a Twitch streamer. I do some basic, playing of like Phasmophobia and stuff like that. I'm also here at the Chaotic Calling all the time. I'm very active in this community, playing as much as I can. With Star here, and they do have some other games that they do play on Mondays and Wednesdays and stuff like that.
Don't let him lie to you guys. He's at Nameless Unit. He forgot his
Oh,
own
Nameless
name.
Unit. Yeah. Oh, did I say Nameless Streams? Didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Don't worry. I gave you a shout out on Twitch if you guys are
Thank
watching.
you.
Don't you know what? I'll include a link to his Twitch stream as well on the YouTube video. Since this is a collab between some social media there, and if Deadmeat had any kind of social media, I could do the same for him. Unless
I don't.
Yeah. Nope. All right.
I don't
Well,
stream. I don't do social media publicly,
right.
so.
If you want to get a hold of Deadmeat, join the Discord, and then you can spam him all you want.
Yeah.
You might get blocked if you spam me, but
You know, I'm gonna make a Discord account called Shella, and I'm just gonna keep bothering you. Hey, what you doing?
God.
Deadmeat, let's go on an adventure. Let's head out. Let's do something fun. It'll be great.
Oh, good. Well, yeah. Go ahead.
But no, I didn't think of anything to add. Outside what was already said for today, at least. I mean, there's a lot of like stuff for world building that we'll probably end up hitting on in future topics, but
Yeah.
for right now, I have nothing more to add.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else could we talk about just to kind of like end on a high note, right?
Yeah. Let's see here. Trying to think.
Should we talk about the legalities of the OGL and how it affect our community, maybe real quick, or?
Actually, if you haven't seen the good news, looks like they're actually.
Yeah,
I
did catch the good news though. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Where they seem to be backpedaling a little bit.
All the way.
Yeah, it's not backpedaling. They're just flat out dropping. But
yeah,
I hope so. Because some of the things that they had it worded as seemed like they could still be sneaky about things.
Well,
legal wording, but I'm hoping that they're just like, we're done. Our whoops a daisies are over.
Yeah, I need to take a bigger look into how everything was, but I think it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah. The only thing that I really was sad about, and that's it, I was just sad because it produced a negative attitude about what Dungeons and Dragon is in general. And whenever that negativity is out there, people are going to be like, oh, D&D bad, I don't want to do. So like our recruitment from a couple Fridays ago, like when it was in the most heated moment, we got nobody. And then
that was intense.
And we had like the lowest population for one of our Friday, and that's the odd thing. Like my Friday games usually have at least, I think I never had less than 7 or 8 people there at a time. Like maybe near the end it might have dwindled down to the same number of 4, but we only had 4 people actively on that Friday, and I was like, I don't know if it's just because it was Friday the 13th and that's the day it hit, or if it was the OGL creating such a sting to, create a stigma to possible new players that could have joined us. But, I just felt like even though they're backpedaling, the stigma that they created is hurting the smaller communities because all the potential new people that could have joined are going to be turned off because they heard about this and like, okay, these guys are evil. I don't want to be around anything that has anything to do with it. And I just want to say, look, we're a community. We want to be a community first, and I'm trying to save the community. So if you guys are upset with D&D and Hasbro, that's great. Go ahead, be upset. But just remember, we're all a community here. Let's band together and let them learn their lesson. They learned it. Let's make sure they stick to it. And from there, we'll move on. Let's be a community again. Yeah, let's all be good to each other.
On one more note, I just want to add, if you want to truly stick it to Hasbro and Wizards, support the small communities.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes, they almost never give any money to...
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the small communities are switching games now because of this, and then I don't want to do that. It's just too much transitioning, too much
I could,
investment in one part of the field.
yeah, I can definitely see why, but that I feel like might be a topic for
Yeah, maybe a future.
maybe another time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to close on, or
To close on, I think you did a great job just kind of doing a shout out for your channel, letting everyone know. Just hit that Discord up, follow Star. You can follow me. You can say hey to Deadmeat and Star's Discord. And yeah, I think that's the best note we can leave on.
all right. Well, my friends, you got any plans to stream later on, Nameless?
Not today. It is my son's birthday, so we're gonna have some fun
Oh,
today.
happy birthday to him. All right, guys, if you're in the Twitch chat, wish his son happy birthday. If you're in the YouTube, wish his son happy birthday in the comments. We need to get that algorithm going. Help us support the podcast by liking, subscribing, all the fun stuff. That's it, guys. We're done, right?
Yeah.
Our very first podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. We will be. I was thinking about streaming some Monster Hunter Rise later on, and maybe I could show you that Switch axe, and you can check that out. But
There
other
we
than
go.
that, we will be live tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central with our Elsperia to Space. So if you like space adventures, come check this out. We got spaceships, we got mobile suits coming in soon. We got weapons like pistols and cannons and guns. We have a gun called the Desperado. It's all badass. Let's do it. All right, guys, say good night to Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and wherever else I put this. Say good night,
You
guys.
all have a great night.
Y'all have a good night and stay safe.
And with that, we'll find someone to raid. But make sure you ask them, do you hear the calling?
ChaoticCalling. Do I hear the calling? Yeah, my host player went on. What's up, dude? Thanks for the host.